Welcome back, Author Nation. It's Joe Solari here, and today we are meeting with the Queens of the Western Empire. How are you all?
Doing
Doing
well.
great.
Okay. Why don't we go around? We'll start with Jocelyn, then Elaine and Amber, and introduce yourself. Tell us about, what you're writing or pen names, whatever you want to share about your actual, like, why you're hanging around the Author Nation thing, and then we'll get into what you guys are building in the Western Empire.
Okay, fabulous. I'm Jocelyn Lindsay. I have no pen names. I have discovered it's just too hard for me to keep track of. Every time I start thinking I want one, it's like, no, I already have 3 emails accounts I'm dealing with. I can't handle more things. So no, I'm Jocelyn Lindsay everywhere. And so I'm currently writing an urban fantasy series, with characters, protagonists over 40. So that's my mission and my purpose at the moment. And yeah, I've been hanging around Author Nation since the first moment that you said it was happening. And I went to 20 books in 19 back at the animatronic Sam's Town back.
The good old days.
The old days, yes,
Yeah.
the old chapters. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna keep rolling along. I'm one of those repeat offenders, and
Mm.
I'm here because I think it's brilliant and it's amazing, and the community is by far one of the best places I have found to meet other writers. So I'm here.
Awesome. Elaine.
So I'm Elaine Canyon, and that is what I publish under. I publish closed door romantasy comedies. So think all of the fun and adventure of a romantasy, but all of the laughter and humor of a rom-com kind of all mashed up together, which is a lot of fun. I am a debut author for 2024. I published my first book in 2024, which was a lot of fun. It's called Love Ships and Sea Serpents. And I hang out at Author Nation because it is one of the few groups I found that is driven towards making this a business. I come from an entrepreneurial family. I am very entrepreneurial. And Author Nation was the group that was like, hey, we also are entrepreneurial and we want to give you the tools and the know-how in order to push forward and be successful in this business and to value the product that you make and value the work that you do. That really resonated with me. And so when the opportunity to jump in and volunteer and help out came up, I was all for it.
Awesome. Amber.
Hi, I'm Amber Washer. I write under the pen name, or I was writing under the pen name AC Washer. It's an unfortunate pen name with 2 appliances that I have since rethought. And I'm actually rebranding everything. So I have written 2 books in a series. I was going to publish my third, but went to Author Nation this year and completely revamped my strategy, going wide, changing my pen name to something a little bit more searchable and doing all the things differently. So I've pulled everything off of Amazon. I'm giving everything a glow up, going to restart everything. So if you search for me, you might find my website, but even that's going to change. So it's kind of, it's exciting. It's also demoralizing, but welcome to entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, I forgot how much work this is.
Exactly. I'm in Author Nation because I stalked 20 books to 50K for such a long time. It was an inspiration to me. And when the conference became Author Nation, when Author Nation took it over, that's where I really found my people. They spoke my language and they go through the same struggles. There's always people who have kind of had your same or a similar writing journey as you and can offer encouragement, or at least you can be comrade in arms. So it's just where I fit.
Awesome. Well, and how we all kind of came together in this weird thing is in setting up this idea around having regional coordinators. I got this weird email about, hey, we've already decided this is how it's going to be. Not going to be one person. It's going to be all of us. And this is how we're going to do it. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like, does it give people kind of a little background on like what you're doing as a regional coordinator or coordinators, and your choice around the name and the whole thing. I think it's a great story. And what I love the most about it is just the fun you were having right from the beginning. Like, who knows? Maybe we'll piss this guy off. Maybe. I don't know.
We were prepared to have you be very pissed off.
Well, because I think we both are, the three of us all thought that the empire, the what became the Western Empire when it was first presented, was massive. And we were looking at the region thinking, there's no, I mean, I remember looking at that thinking, I could step up, but man, there's like, it's like everything west of the Mississippi. I was like, and it was
When it
very
first started, it was
daunting.
14 time zones
yeah.
when
and-
we first looked at it.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't know each other before any of this. We had never met anything. And then I think we just clicked. And what empire came from, we don't have a region, we have an empire. Because it's just so big. And I think we all just went big. We just decided we were going to go for it.
Well, and in the early days, there wasn't a lot of there wasn't a lot of surety of where those boundaries were. So there was a little while that maybe we were going to have Canada, like the western half of Canada, and maybe we were going to have part of Mexico. And so there was a lot of talk of, well, maybe this, maybe that. And we already had Alaska, like, and Alaska by itself has like 8 time zones.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, and the funny thing is, when you first said, "Hey, Amber, do you want to do the Western Empire?" and I'm just like, I'm like, I think Jocelyn's already doing it because she's been pretty active, and Jocelyn's just like, nope, but I will be your second in command if you want to be. And I'm just like, still too much pressure. And then just Jocelyn and Elaine were like, hey, let's just make this a trifecta. Let's make it fun. Let's make it so it's not too much work on any one person. And we're like, you know what? This could work. Like with the 3 of us being co-managers, being the queens of the Western Empire, we can make this easy, we can make this fun, and we can make this productive. And that's really how it started.
Yeah, I think that was the big thing for us. It's got to be fun. If we're going to do this, it has to be fun, because so many volunteer activities don't end up being fun at all.
And
Well,
then you
even
hate it.
even when they're fun, they're stressful, right?
Oh,
Like
right,
there's
yeah.
still stress no matter
Yeah.
what. Like
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun putting on the show, but like you're putting on a show, there's
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 a lot
stress.
that goes
you're
into
worried
it.
about what's going to go wrong. No, I love how you guys came at this whole thing, just because it never has been like a really like, here's your packet and you're welcome to the thing and this is what you need to do, and we're like, all of this has been the essence of entrepreneurship, and that, like, hey, we have a common goal, we're not really sure how we're going to get there, and that part I think has always been clear, and it's what you all touched on is why you're interested in this, is like, we want to help each other be successful. Like, if you're really serious about this, we want to say, hey, you're welcome, and we're going to give you as best a shot as we can to succeed. But we're in an industry where, like, it changes so fast, right?
Mhm.
I was just thinking, I'll be 25, this will be 10 years I've been in publishing, and who was a big deal in 2015 and are they even around? Right. Like,
Right.
So there's those kind of fast changes and ups and downs that we have to deal with. And it isn't like becoming a plumber. Like, here's what you have to do. You do an apprenticeship and then you go, work for another plumbing company. Like, this is all we're figuring out as we go along. So, when it came to like, how do we really instill this, for me as a business person, it's always like, well, can we build a system? Right. And you guys really have instilled the idea of, at the highest level, at the leadership level, like, we're going to come together and collaborate. Right. We're going to work on this together, not one or us like your co-leaders, and we're going to figure out how to make this work. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Western Empire and how it works. And
So I guess the main way that it works is that we just invite everybody in. So when you come into the Author Nation communities, you're welcome to join whatever community and region you actually fall under, but we were labeled as colonizers at Author Nation 2024 because we're not opposed to bringing anybody and everybody in. We want you to succeed. We want you to have fun. And if you're up for trying to succeed and finding ways to be successful and you want to have a good time doing it, then we want you involved. The first way we started that was we started a Discord. And what tends to happen, we're finding, is that we start something and then y'all take notice and then it becomes something that everybody does. So that Discord doesn't exist anymore because now we have the Author Nation Discord. And that is where we as the queens are the most active. It's where all of our main updates and everything come first. And then it gets put on the Author Nation collab community, and it needs to be put into the Facebook group and move out from there essentially. But
yeah,
what we like to do is we like to kind of stay in that Discord environment because it really encourages the conversation and it encourages people to be able to talk to each other and make those connections that are going to move them forward. It's also a really great place for us to be able to host events. So we aim for about once a month that we have some sort of event that goes on, whether we bring in an author, we'll reach out to successful authors and ask if they're interested in presenting to the region. And then we'll also do things just for the region. So we did a party in October of 2024, like literally just a party. We played games. I found a fun game and it was like 2 hours of just having a good time. Like that's all it was. But we want to make sure that everybody has that community base. I have background in graphic design, and so I spend a lot of time in that Discord community helping authors with their covers. They'll bring a cover up and I can look at it and I can tell you if it's working or not. Jocelyn is a book coach. And so Jocelyn is very good at looking at the situation and saying, well, are you getting the words in? And pointing out that, hey, if you don't write the book, you don't have a product. And then Amber, as we'll talk about in a little bit, is our numbers gal. She is so data driven and understands data and knows how to ask the questions of, well, of what data do you have and what data do you need in order to know whether or not you're being successful. And so the three of us together spend a lot of time in that Discord trying to be a resource for the Western Empire in making sure that we are building up a very strong community that is going to function in a way that helps lift all ships.
So you're doing this, and for me, like watching it is like, this is so representative of like what you need to do for your readership, right? Like if you're one of the things we always talk about, like Jocelyn, you got to have a product, but you also need to have a customer, right? Like you can have, so like, what are you guys learning from just doing this around the author community that you think you can apply to your own author businesses?
Amber, you are in the midst of like massive.
Oh gosh. Well, I learned a lot from Author Nation, particularly, but from what we're doing here, it really just highlights what Elaine was saying about the importance of building community. You get your community built as an author, and you get the people invested in that community, and it becomes a lot easier. I stink at community. There's a reason why we have Elaine, because Elaine is amazing with it. And so I'm just watching Elaine and I'm seeing what she's doing. I'm just like, yes, I really do need to be consistent. Yes, I really do stink at social media. I need to do better. But that's for me personally. What about you, Jocelyn?
Well, I think one of the things that I've observed, having been around community and author communities, especially, is it can be really hard to find your people. It can be really hard to connect in with a group for whatever reasons. And I think what I'm seeing with like our Discord group and our Western Empire is that there's a real need for community, and authors really want it. And a lot of us don't know where to find it or how to get it. And when we see it, we don't know how to slip into it. And I think for us with the Empire, it's trying to make it as open as possible, have the doors open so there's no sense of I don't know how to access this. I don't feel like I belong, or I don't feel like I'm far enough along. And I know when you get into that post publish middle murky ugly adolescent stage of I'm not making money, I'm not really anybody yet, it's like it can be really hard to find your footing and your place. And I think for us, that's just one of the big things that we've really gotten ourselves around, is like we want to provide that for a lot of people who need that, because that's when they'll start succeeding. That's having that support system to cheer you forward is huge.
Mm,
And I have a little bit of experience pre-Author Nation in building community. And one of the goals that you always have when you're trying to build a community, whether it's here with authors or whether it's you're the author and you're trying to build a community of readers, is that ultimately you want that community to be able to function without you.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you want at the beginning to be there to drive engagement, especially when it's just you and like 5 other people. And you're going to be the main one talking when it's just you and 5 other people. And that's okay. But little by little, the goal is to encourage and foster that the community starts to talk to itself and the community starts to function on its own. And little by little, you're able to step back and have that community grow into its own thing.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, coming at it from my perspective, and like, if you think of me as like, I'm the author and I'm trying to build a community, right? In this case, it's not. I'm the running a show that I want to build around for authors. You know, if you're an author and you're trying to replicate this, it's like you want to find your queens of the Western Empire in your audience.
Mhm.
That what's their common thing? Well, it's your books, or it's the genre, but they want to create their own behavior. And something that I learned from Chris Kennedy years ago was the idea of like trusting people to come up with what they want. Don't like I know what I want to what I want to see happen as far as what the community does for each person, but me trying to force that isn't as important as the community figuring out its own kind of social structure and me just supporting it, right? Like, what resources do you need? How do we need to meet? And then adapting as, what systems we have to support that.
I think, Joe, to that, I think you have been really support. I mean, we just came at you and said, this is what we're doing. I mean, and you could have very easily, and we've all been in communities where we could have come in and said, this is what we're doing. And you could have said, yeah, no, you're not. But you said, okay, what do you need? And that's kind of like what we're trying to do with our community, demonstrate that down to the next level. Because otherwise you end up with the guru on the mountain where nothing happens unless that guru's involved.
Yeah. And, I think that kind of, and you guys have some experience with this because you're interacting with the overall Author Nation team, is like, we have a really high functioning team and we're having fun what we're doing. And it's not to say that everyone that's joined is stuck around. There's going to always be change, whether, people's author careers take off or they just don't like where we're going. But like, what I've found is when I give people that latitude to build, like, I got to be clear, what are we trying to do?
Yep.
We're trying to build a community that supports authors, but the additional thing that I believe Author Nation does, and this kind of gets into stuff that Amber's really good at, is like, we're not just saying stuff. We're trying to figure out systems that validate to us through some kind of feedback loop that, yes, we are doing what we say, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to say we're really here to support authors, but can I say we got this many authors to publish a book, we got this many authors to profitability? Because if we measure that, then we can say, oh, we're not doing the job we think we are. Well, how do we fix that? Right. Like, um, and too often that stuff just gets lost in the mix. And so, you want to maybe talk a little bit about the tool that we stole from you?
We've just come to accept that we will do things and y'all are just going to say, oh, great job. Let's move that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how the empire spreads.
Exactly. These are our Trojan horses.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's seriously, I think, with the group that we have that's doing the regions, of course, there are some folks that it's not going to work out, right? They've got life circumstances or they got into this and but I also know that there's going to be stuff that you guys are going to steal from the other regions when it comes up. You're not like nothing.
We'll steal it and claim it as our own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much.
And that's the joy of this whole thing is like, let's take the best ideas and get them working everywhere. And, when you think about we're not even a full year into this project of having an online community, and we really haven't executed on all the things that Author Nation's got. This Saturday, we're going to actually start rolling out our process with working through this content. I know how it ends up is going to be very different than the vision I have in my head, but as long as we're kind of going the right direction with that, it's going to be amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's going to change how we all learn and collaborate. And hopefully we'll get folks in your region to be like, you know what, I'm coming to the show next year. It might not be my thing, the live shows, but like I have to come and meet some of the people that I've worked on this last year virtually and just give them a hug in real life and, spend some time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that spirit of collaboration, especially through the empire, has been huge. And that kind of leads into like Amber's pride and joy here, the tool that we're talking about, because we really believe in that collaboration and helping the writers in our empire move forward. And that's where the conversation that started this tool came from. How can we help these writers and give them something to look at that is specific and they have a tool that they can look at and see how they're doing and see how they're comparing to other writers. They have a place that they can, make a record of it, and that they can encourage each other and themselves to keep going. And that's when Amber came in and said, aha, I can do this.
Well, this is the stuff that I love doing, and this is what's so fun working with Jocelyn and Elaine is we all have very different interests and they just blend together beautifully. So Crosswrite, the whole concept behind it was how can we really help the individual? Like, yes, we can make it competitive and we can make it competitive very easily. Who published the most books?
Right.
But we needed to do better than that. We need to make it so that it can be something, if you're a sports person, sure, you're going to be all competitive. But if you're a swimmer, if you're a long distance runner, it's more, if you're a marathoner, it's really, you're competing with yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's how I view writing is you can compare yourself to Shakespeare. You can compare yourself to J.R. Tolkien and J.K. Rowling. But at the end of the day, the person that you really ought to be measuring yourself up against is yourself. So we wanted to make it fun. We wanted to have an element of competition there, like any good sporting arrangement, like CrossFit. But we also wanted to make it very individualized. So we kind of did a blended approach. We have it set up so that you have your leaderboard, you have your words written for the month that you keep on going throughout the month, building and building. And you have your profitability tasks. How many newsletters did you send out for your, marketing tasks? How many promos did you participate in for your profitability? If you're doing author branding stuff, Have you been rebranding your website? Are you taking a look at your personal mission statement as an author? Are you doing any of those sorts of tasks that would fall under that category? And so we're really trying to focus people on what they are trying to focus on for their particular business instead of getting distracted by what everyone else is doing. And in order to do that, we've combined it with a goal approach where part of it is identifying your personal goals. You've got your 3-month goal, you've got your 6-month goal, and you've got your conference goal, what you want to have accomplished by the beginning of Author Nation this year. And then we have people choose their working goal. And on a separate sheet, they have that working goal separated into tasks. And as they accomplish their individual tasks, they're not looking at anyone else's tasks. They're focused on their own. And what that allows is for them to see their own progress, to get excited because they're moving in the direction they want to move in. And we are able to see their goals because everyone's different. You're going to have a mom of 5 kids who is not going to be, doing a book a month. There is absolutely no way that that will ever happen in the next 5 years for me, if ever. And then you're going to have the person who's just like, oh yeah, I retired last year. All my kids are doing great. My health is awesome. Let's do this. And these are very different life stages. And you can't really compare apples to oranges in terms of how much they're able to accomplish because they don't have the same amount of time, nor perhaps do they even have the same amount of understanding of how the business works. You're going to get your novices. You're going to get the ones who are still working on their first book, which is great. It's a huge accomplishment. Not many people are able to accomplish this. And getting them to focus on their goals instead of getting distracted by the one who already has 15 books in their behind them. We really have this blended approach of, are you hitting your goals? Also, let's look at the leaderboards. How are we showing that you're hitting your goals? Oh, good. You're pre-published and you're writing 2,000 words a day. Oh, that's amazing. Or 500 words a day. I can see you're doing that consistently and that matches your goals. Okay. What are you? Oh, you're starting your author branding stuff. Perfect. Oh, you're starting to post to social media 3 months before you even get your book to edits. Awesome. You are building the framework and we're seeing them progress and they can see themselves progress and they can encourage each other. So
no, it's really cool. And what I love about this is how it ties up to what we talked about in 2024 and what our plan is for 2025. So I opened up the show and we had this amazing research that we pulled out of the pre-show survey. We had, I think it was 680 authors that had filled that out at that point. And we were able to see very clearly things that we could influence from a show perspective and with what you're doing. And that is, if we could provide an author with a peer, a mentor, and accountability, that they were going to perform better. Like we knew that these characteristics were the difference between successful and unsuccessful authors. And our data showed that if you had all three, if you had one of any of those, you were typically twice as profitable as the other type of author, and you did it 18 months faster. And if you had all three, it was 4 times more profitable. So like that's for us, that's kind of like we found this really interesting thing. Now, how do we make it happen? 2025, our thing is theory to practice, right? So that's theory. That all sounds great. That made a great slide, Joe. How do I make it happen in my life? Okay. This is the practice, right? And I love what we're doing here because it's not that we all achieve the same goal. It's we understand what our goals are. And something that I've been doing a lot of my personal research around is the idea of us in the industry changing ourselves from looking at specific business related achievements Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to be a 6-figure author. I'm going to have a book a month. These are things that we can tie our personal worth to that are
Mhm.
gets us on this hedonic treadmill where we're just chasing goal after goal and we find ourselves on a different kind of hamster wheel to like, hey, I'm in this an amazing job where I get to practice and then sell that product. So
Mhm.
how am I in the moment being the best I can be? Like, how can I set my goals around like, right? Yes, I want to be a 7-figure author. But for me, where I'm at today, to be a 7-figure author means I have to finish my first book,
Right.
right? It doesn't have to be the best book. It doesn't have to be a book that makes $1 million. I have to have a finished book. Why? Because all the people at Author Nation are like, say, you just got to publish,
Right.
get it published,
Get it published. Get
right?
it done, get it published, get
Yeah.
it out there.
For all of our sakes, let's hope it's not your best book.
Right.
Like,
Well, and I think what we find with or what we're finding with Crosswrite, what we're hoping is to really see the transformation, not just of getting stuff done, but the transformation of the writer, that the author is transforming along with these goals that they are accomplishing. And they can look back and say, oh, here I was in January because Amber freezes each month. So, like, I can't wait till like 6 months down the road or next quarter when we can see these authors looking back and being able to specifically see their transformation, that path they're on, and how far they're coming. And I think that's really important for them and for us as writers as well to see that, because we get so caught up in all the things that aren't working right that we forget, well, I only got 3 newsletters out, or I didn't do, or I should have done, I could have done, I didn't. That this Crosswrite is giving us a way to look at what we've actually done and accomplished.
yeah. And is it a horrible thing if out of just sheer peer pressure, we help you get your goals done? Like, I just don't
Right.
want to be at the bottom of the leaderboard. Like, I know if there's been a couple times this when I was doing CrossFit, that was my sole source of getting through that wad was like, I just can't be the last one.
Yeah. I could be the second to the
I
last.
can be the second to the last one, but I can't, I gotta beat the old guy that just
Yeah,
came here today.
Yeah.
I know that they say discipline trumps motivation 9 times, all the time, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit extra motivation to help the discipline along. That's for sure.
Yeah. And some of here's the other thing with the research that I've been doing lately. There's, if you have like natural creative talent, that means that you got some uh cognitive functions that are going to make it harder for you to be disciplined and on task, right? Like you're going to be very strong in your default mode network and your daydreaming, and you're not going to have as high in your executive functioning capabilities. It's just
Mhm.
that's natural raw creative talent, right? So one, nobody ever talks about how you honor both of those systems, but two, it's like you're a little bit disadvantaged. So what if we figure out some ways to help, keep you on the road, right?
Right.
There's nothing, we could all go back to driving cars without ABS. It sucks. Like why? So let's build a system that has the anti-lock brakes built into it.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that we also like is we want you to have a buddy. I mean, we want to make sure that we're tracking too. Who are you? And I've seen conversations in our channels about, well, I don't have a buddy. Well, I don't have a buddy. Can we be buddies? How do we create? And so there's that support system that's just naturally starting. When they start seeing who has one and who doesn't, then they can start having that conversation.
Well, it
I'm
helps too
sorry.
that the three of us at Author Nation, we met a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And the ones we didn't meet, we were able to get to know on through Discord. But we know where a lot of these people live. And so 2 people jumped up in the Discord and they said, hey, I don't have a buddy. I don't have a buddy. And I jumped in and said, hey, guess what? Both of you live in the same state and in the same city.
Right.
And they were like, oh, I didn't know you lived here. I didn't know you lived here. And then all of a sudden it took off from there, and I didn't have to do anything else. All I had to do was say, hey, both of you live within 30 minutes of each other. Maybe you do something.
Yeah. And that's something we're going to get better at in 2025. I mean, we heard, like, we actually listen to our customers. We might not do everything you say, but we do listen. The idea of how can we help folks that aren't maybe the best at networking with some methodologies for doing it, because like I'm a natural connector. So it's like, oh, okay. So like just the idea of, and I think you guys know this, but for folks that are listening, the event center room is going to be all banquet tables in 2025. So everyone will be sitting around tables. That gives you places to work, but it also gives you kind of a way to connect. And we're right now evaluating, some meal type stuff that we may do, but certainly we're going to have some networking time during the day where people can just hang out at those tables, and we'll help to get those conversations started, because we know, like I've observed this being around publishing for 10 years, is that folks that are introverted, it doesn't mean that they don't want to network. It means that they may be a little more self-conscious about it, or it takes a lot more energy. So we can help with that. And we can help to really make it where you're not fumbling around like, well, what should we talk about? It's like, we know what you want to talk about. You want to talk about being an author, and
Right.
you want to find out people in your genre. You want to find out what people that are at your same level. You want to find your buddy, those kind of things. Like we can help make that happen.
I'm looking forward to that. Those tables are going to be really helpful. It's going to be a great connector place for us all to meet.
Yeah, I think that, there's so much that I've observed happens around those conversations, more so around those conversations, right?
Yeah.
And that is where the real value gets created. So like we can do more and more to have that happen. So why don't we we'll get wrapped up here, but like, how can people become part of the Western Empire, get involved with Crosswrite?
We have Crosswrite posted on the Discord, on Facebook, on the Author Nation community. Just click on that. You're able to put in your information right off the bat. It's a spreadsheet, a Google sheet that's segregated into different sheets. So make sure you fill out your 2025 goals, and then do your monthly goals. That is also going to be screenshot every month. The monthly goals will be, not the 2025 year picture, but the monthly goal sheet will be screenshot at the end of the month, each month. And you will have the opportunity to alter your goals according as they will change during the year, because life happens. And just get started with that. Those 3 sheets, 2025 goals, monthly goals, and then the leaderboard. Just put your name in the first row that is available, and you're in. It's as easy as that.
Yeah, and we'll have the link in the show notes to get into the community and to get to the Crosswrite sheet. And if you're a Discord user, to get to that. All of that stuff is free. You don't, if you like, you're never ever going to go to Las Vegas. You don't like to go to shows. God bless, you don't have to participate in this stuff. A big part of our focus is, we want you to invest in your business the right way, which probably means in the beginning, you don't come to the live show, you participate in this community, and save up your money to invest in coverers and editing and the things that make your product great, so that you can start to get your business to pay for the show. So like, this isn't, you have to be coming to Las Vegas. Come to this community and let us help you figure out how to get these books paying for that trip. Like that's again, that's kind of our goal, is to make as many people possible find their tribe and get to hang out with them.
Yeah. And I think, Elaine, do you want to, finding us on the Discord is pretty easy.
Yeah. So when
and-
you join the Author Nation Discord, it will go through a whole bunch of questions, and one of the questions is going to be, what region are you in? It actually lists like states and provinces and that sort of thing, and you can click multiple. So if you would like to still be in whatever area you actually live in, then you can totally do that, and then just also click the Western Empire. So those are going to be the states like Utah and Wyoming and California and Idaho and like all
Hawaii.
of that. Yeah, Hawaii,
Hawaii.
Alaska,
Alaska.
Washington, Oregon. So it's just a list of states. And so you're going to want to find those states. And when you find, you can click that, and then you can click wherever you actually live too, because we have several Canadians. We have people from all across the United States that are also in the Empire with us. And we just want to have a good time with you. We want to have fun, and we want to see you succeed. And the Discord is the best place for that. We are also on the Author Nation community. We're also in the Facebook group, but the Discord group is where we have been able to facilitate the greatest amount of help.
Awesome. Really appreciate all the work that the three of you have done so far last year, this year. I'm excited about some of the stuff we have coming up. And I know I'll see you a lot before then, but I'll see you live in November 3rd through the
Absolutely.
7th in Horseshoe
Absolutely.
Casino.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.